Hi, I'm Chef Gareth from Bangkok Bob's, and today we're going to make crab cakes with spinach and a red pepper salsa. Now very simple, very easy and very delicious. So what we need for us to make these fish cakes is these basic ingredients here. We require 400 grams of crab meat, 600 grams of potatoes, 200 grams of diced onions, 1 clove of garlic finely diced, some chopped tarragon. We also require 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, salt and pepper, and the zest of 1 lemon here. From there, we are going to make a roasted red pepper salsa. What we require for that is 4 red peppers, some diced red onion, we have some chopped parsley, some chopped coriander, the juice of 1 lemon, a little bit of ginger that we will peel and finely chop, and that will all be bound together with some olive oil. To finish this dish off, we will then be presenting it on either sautéed spinach or bok choy. Today we're going to use the spinach, but it's up to you, you can use the bok choy depending on your taste. Okay, so for us to create our crab cakes, what we require is a pan of hot water so we can cook our potatoes. We're also going to require a couple of mixing bowls in order to combine our salsa and the ingredients for the fish cake. We also need a frying pan in order to saute our fish cake as well as our spinach. We need a whisk to do our egg wash. We need a measuring jug to measure our egg wash. We also require trays in order to put our pane together. 1 for flour, 1 for the egg wash, and 1 for the breadcrumbs. It's easy, it's simple, and it's up to you. So now we take our potatoes and we put them into our seasoned boiling water. Now they will take approximately 10 minutes to cook. So for our crab cakes, as I said, 400 grams, we put this into the mixing bowl. As you're placing it into the mixing bowl, rub your fingers through it just to ensure that there's no excess shell. And as you can see, just with my fingers, I'm breaking it up there very slowly. Next, we'll be adding our diced onions. Following the onions, we add our very finely diced garlic. Next is our Dijon mustard. Following that is our tarragon. Get the leaves in your hand and just pull very gently, and the leaves will just fall off, just like that, very simple. This tarragon has a beautiful aniseed taste to it and will give us our crab cakes a nice little lift. Now we're going to chop our tarragon. You require a very sharp knife for this. If your knife is a little bit blunt and you have a steel in the house, same angle on either side, 10 times on each side. Once you've achieved that, get a nice bit of clean cloth, you're ready to go. So with your fingers placed at the end of the knife here and your hand firmly gripping the handle, you just use the knife like this, pivoting with your left hand, or if you're right-handed, the other way around. And we just run the knife over the tarragon. And there we go. If your knife is blunt, what will happen is that you will bruise the tarragon, and that we don't want that. Now add your tarragon to the rest of your ingredients. Our next ingredient is the zest of 1 lemon. So the zest, we use the finest part of the grater. After you've washed the lemon, you rub nice and gently down the side, moving the lemon all the time so there's an even amount of flavour going all the way through. You don't want too much of the pith because it's bitter. So we want just the yellow from the lemon. This is what your lemon should look like after you're finished the zesting process. So as you can see, all the yellow has gone and you're just left with the pith. Now we're going to keep this lemon because we're going to use the juice from this lemon for our salsa. Tap your grater to free any extra zest in there, and this is what you end up with. To check if your potatoes are ready or not, get a very sharp knife with the pointy end and place it into a potato. If that potato naturally falls off, then it's good to go. If it's still a little bit stubborn, just give it a couple more minutes until that we achieve that goal. Then from there, as you can see ours are ready now, gently pour into a colander and just let them dry. We want to get rid of as much moisture as possible. While we're waiting for our potatoes to dry out, what we can now do is start making our pane mix. So a pane is a combination of an egg wash, which is just simply eggs and milk combined together. So today we're using three eggs, and roughly around about 150 milliliters of milk. Now what you do not want to do now here is add a little bit more seasoning, because we're going to season our fish cakes, we're going to season our flour, and obviously we'll have all the other flavors going on. So all we need here right now is just the eggs and the milk. With your whisk, combine the two ingredients together until you get a nice golden yellow color. The next ingredient for our pane is just all-purpose flour. So what you want to do is put this on a nice level surface. And the last ingredient of the pane is breadcrumbs. Now, we use panko breadcrumbs, which is a Japanese breadcrumb. However, if you're at home and you have some bread that's sort of slightly getting a bit stale, you can dry it out a little bit longer and then just use a food processor to break it down. The nice thing about panko is it gives it a little bit more texture. So these are our panko breadcrumbs here now. But as I said, don't be afraid to use your bread at home. So as you can see, the potatoes, the steam's gone now. So we're going to transfer this now to our crab mix. So now we're going to combine our ingredients. If you don't have a glove, don't worry about it. You can use a fork, a spoon, you can even use your hands as long as they're clean. But what we're going to do, as you see now here, we're just going to combine this. We're not going to combine it too much because you still want that texture when you bite into these crab cakes. Now, as we're halfway through, what we do now is add a bit of seasoning. So we have some rock salt, nice good sprinkling, cracked black pepper. This is about 1 teaspoonful here. Just nicely spread around, and then back to mixing. Making sure all those ingredients are combined very well. You don't want a big lump of potato, but you don't want mashed potato either. And ensuring that all the lemon and the tarragon and the mustard is all folded through nicely. So there we have right now. So as you can see now, all the ingredients are combined. We can see the lemon zest, we can see the tarragon, we can see the crab, we can see the potato. There's even a little hint of the Dijon mustard through there now. So we know it's seasoned. What we're going to do now is place this in the fridge for about 20 minutes just to chill down slightly before we actually make it into our patties. As you can see, our crab mix now has chilled down and we're ready to put into our shapes. So in the restaurant we call them patties. So we use a mold like this with a little bit of flour. Just put on a bit of surface area like this. Use your mold. Each cake is going to weigh around about 125 grams. But what you do is just make the shape that almost resembles the mold itself. Push down quite firmly, not too hard though. So what we do now here, this is our first one. We turn over, and then we have an equal amount of flour on either side. Just use your hands just to bring it all back together. And then we have one crab cake ready there to go. Repeat the process. If you don't have these molds, you can use your hands like I'm doing right now. So the next stage is the salsa. So we have our roasted red peppers, going straight into a nice mixing bowl here now. We have our diced red onion into here. We have our juice of 1 lemon. Now there's a nice little trick you can get to get the most juice out of your lemon if you don't have a lemon squeezer at home. Holding firmly with your thumb, place the fork into the middle of the lemon and just turn and squeeze at the same time. This way you're getting all the juice out, plus not having any of the pips in there as well with the use of the strainer. And then finish off with a nice tight squeeze and you're done. The next is we have some ginger. Okay, now ginger is a funny shaped little creature, isn't it? But there is another trick for this as well, so you don't waste any. Choose the bit of ginger that you actually want. Snap, get a spoon. With the ginger in your hand and the end of the spoon, pull down. This way you're peeling the ginger, but you're not actually losing any of the ginger. All we've got is just the skin coming off. There we go, one piece of ginger. With your sharp knife, Nice incisions all the way through, pushing through slowly so not to cut your fingers. Nice thin slices. With your ginger, once again, use your knife, turn on its side, then nice small dices. So once you've chopped your ginger, now we're going to add that to the two other ingredients, which are the peppers and the red onions, and obviously the lemon juice that we've just done there. And now we're going to add some chopped coriander and parsley. So when you're chopping it, you can smell it. You can smell how fresh it is as well. So what we do now is that with our coriander, we just add into our ingredients. As I said, you don't want to bruise these leaves. We're going to add a little bit of salt. Now the thing with the salsa is you can do anything you want. If you want to add a bit of chili to this, no problem at all. If you want to add some fruit to it, like a mango or even some green peppers or even some lime juice, it's not a problem. It's your flavors, it's your choice. So we're going to slowly add. We are using an extra virgin oil today, but an avocado oil would work equally as nice. And now we're just going to fold that in. As you can see, all that beautiful flavors and colors. And that's our salsa ready now. We can let that rest for up to an hour. So it's going to add a little bit more olive oil. Just let that sit on the top. And that'll just fold nicely into the salsa. So now we're getting to the completion of our dish. So the next stage right now is to shallow fry our fish cakes. In a frying pan, halfway full, we're just using a basic sunflower oil, or you can use a vegetable oil. The reason for this is because it has a higher burning temperature, and it makes sure your oil is clean as well, because you don't want these crab cakes to discolor. So what we're going to do now, we're going to cook 3, because you don't want to fill your pan. You need to have enough space for that oil to be able to circulate around the actual cakes itself. We're using an induction stove, so whether you're using gas or electric, take it to the highest level to start with, and when you see it starting to smoke, if you're lucky enough to have a thermometer, take it to about 180 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's more than enough. When it reaches that temperature, you're ready to place your crab cakes into the pan. So we're just going to turn that temperature down a little bit now, just so we don't get any hotter. So very, very carefully, with your hand like this, place the fish cake into the pan but away from you, okay? So you don't have any chance of the oil splashing back on yourself. Repeat the process, always away from you. Now as you can see here now, the oil is bubbling nicely around the cakes, and they're evenly spread, so they're going to get an even coloring, an even coating. Once we have achieved a nice golden color on the crab cakes, what we will do is place them on a tray with some baking parchment and place them into an oven that is set around about 180 degrees Celsius. We will place them in the oven roughly between 6 to 8 minutes and turning halfway through that point. So as we can see, they're nice and golden now. So we place on our tray with our baking parchment. Once again, nice and evenly spread. And we place them into an oven at 180 degrees for, as I said, between 6 to 8 minutes, making sure we turn halfway through. So now for the third component of the dish, which is our sauteed spinach, we have a frying pan, nice and hot. Drop of olive oil. As you can see, our pan is nice and hot. You can hear it's hot. So what we do now is we add our spinach, and you can hear it crackling straight away. We don't want it to be completely overcooked, we just want it wilted. We still want a bit of freshness in there as well. Now spinach contains a huge amount of moisture, so we're going to drain this afterwards. A little bit of seasoning, salt and pepper as usual, and that's the spinach done. So simple, so simple. So now we take the spinach and we place into our little strainer just to get rid of any excess moisture. Quick little rub around, let that rest for a minute. So here we are at the end now. So now we're going to plate. For us today, we've got our spinach here. Now we get our crab cakes that are nice and soft but still crispy. And last but not least, our lovely salsa to finish off, because it's easy. You can always add more, but you can never take away. And there we have crab cakes with spinach and a red pepper salsa.